Zadrizes Buzdari Skosdau.
I know sometimes I ask you to subscribe, but please just do it, because if you're watching this, you know you enjoy my content. Okay, so I know I actually suck at singing, but please, if you enjoy my content, House of the Dragon is ending. This is it. This is the last trailer breakdown that I'll ever be doing for House of the Dragon Season 1. It's crazy to say, right? But, you know, I entertain people throughout the long night. So if you enjoy my stuff, just subscribe. And then also slap a like on the video. Like goal is going to be 420. This trailer breakdown, you know, I'm showing you right now, or this trailer, this teaser, is just, it's going to be hard to watch this episode. Like, we just saw a drastically different from the books Green Council, but it was really exciting because we got the beast under the boards, and Rhaenys killed innocent people. And you know what? In my live stream that I did the other night, speaking of which, it's linked down below in the description. I'm showing you footage of that right now. It's a lot of fun to do those, and that would be one of the last ones. We got one more coming up this Sunday at 10:15, and then it'll be like at least a whole year before I do a live stream where I'm reacting live to an episode. Obviously, I'm going to do live streams in between there. But the fact that Rhaenys kind of assassinated her character a little bit, like her character is, she's like a warrior queen. She really never does anything wrong in Fire and Blood. She literally, there's nothing that I could think of where I could be like, hey, you know what? She's morally gray. Like, we don't get her POV, so that's one of the reasons why we don't know what she does that's would be considered wrong. You know what I mean? Or make her a bad guy, right? But they did something that made her more of a great character. Now that I've watched the episode, not just 2 times, but 3 times, and then watched that scene specifically, like a bunch online and clips on Instagram and then here on YouTube, it actually makes a lot more sense why they chose to do something like that. Now, it was a spectacle. It was amazing to watch, and I did get a bit of Daenerys burning down King's Landing, but really, Targaryens are volatile, and you could argue that no, that's not in. It could still be in canon because the history books are, you know, Fire and Blood is an interpretation of 3 different accounts of history, and some of those people weren't even alive when the events were taking place. Mushroom supposedly, you know, told this really salacious tale about how everybody was, you know, having sex with everybody, but for the most part, there were people that were trying to argue that it could still have happened. An event like that would have been recorded, but the TV show has to convey a visual medium that not every single character, even the ones that you want to root for the most, like Rhaenys and Corlys, are gray. Corlys is you know, taking heat for not naming his granddaughters the heir, even though he knows Lucerys and Jacaerys are not Velaryons, right? So let's break this last teaser trailer down. Okay, so I'm actually going to break these images down out of order, and that's mainly because there's some more exciting parts of the trailer that I want to talk about, and then we'll talk about the tragic. I think we see Vhagar opening her mouth to literally eat Arax and Lucerys, and at this point, it's not even a spoiler. I don't even have to give a spoiler warning because they show us, hey, Lucerys goes somewhere and is trying to flee somebody, and that's enough of a spoiler where everybody watching this probably knows that. So let's go ahead and pull that image up right now, right? So this is Lucerys and Arax in a storm at Storm's End trying to flee away from Vhagar, and this is Vhagar closing in. It's just, it's intense. Now this image could actually be the dragon that Daemon is supposedly singing to, but that, if you're wondering, the baby crying in the background, that's my daughter downstairs. She's discovering her voice, and she's screaming out loud. It sounds like bloody murder. But, it's not that dragon. It's not the dragon that Daemon is singing to in High Valyrian. It's actually Vhagar. Now, I could be wrong. Let me know down below in the comment section, but I feel like all of the blurry spots around this image, and hopefully you can see that pretty clearly. Let me actually pull up OBS. So yes, you can. It would seem as though, for the most part, there's rain and stuff, and Vhagar is in flight, right? So it's going to be really tragic, and it looks like the show may go a different route entirely, where Vhagar will swallow up Arax and Lucerys entirely because they're big enough to fit into Vhagar's mouth, and that would really show you, aside from visually being like, oh, this is how big Vhagar is, look at how small the rider is in comparison. When Vhagar eats an entire rider and another dragon in one gulp, that lets you know, hey, This is a big boy. This is a big woman. This is an old hoary bitch who shouldn't be fucked around with. Then there's actually a shot of Daemon standing on the drawbridge to Dragonstone with Sir Otto delivering the terms, obviously, of surrender. Now it looks like it's Sir Stephen Darkling is one of the Kingsguard that escorted Rhaenyra to Dragonstone, and they're having a callback to the second episode when Daemon holds up in Dragonstone and Sir Otto is sent over there, and then Rhaenyra ultimately shows up on Syrax and sort of puts a halt to the entire thing. This is going to be interesting to see what happens here, because so Otto doesn't really die until Rhaenyra takes King's Landing. When Rhaenyra takes King's Landing, she has him beheaded. He's one of the first ones beheaded along with Sir Jasper Wilde. And Sir Jasper Ironrod Wilde, one of the last things he says is like still like thinking what they did was like in law and right. So this standoff will be really interesting. This may be the moment, because it looks like, and I'll show that image here in a second, this may be the moment where Harold Westerling switches sides, and he may be waiting until, he could safely get escorted. Because remember, he threw down his cloak and he said, I quit basically until there's a king. So he may be playing the Game of Thrones in that sort of pretending he's still with the Greens, and then switches to the Blacks and kills a couple of Sir Otto's men, and maybe Sir Otto is able to escape luckily. Maybe Daemon was actually trying to tame this wild dragon, and let me go ahead and pull that image up. It's like, Daemon's literally singing in High Valyrian to the dragon, right here, right? So the captions let us know Daemon is singing in Valyrian, and then the other part of that image is right here. Like, this is him laying down the torch in the very first teaser. We all thought, or at least I thought myself, was part of Daemon basically trying to steal an egg. Long story short, whatever Daemon is doing right here, maybe he's trying to get one of the wild dragons to come and help out. Like, Daemon rides Caraxes, so he's definitely not stealing another dragon, but maybe whatever he's doing right here plays into the showdown that he has with Sir Otto on the bridge here. So it's just going to be interesting to see. Now that I'm actually watching the clip in post, it's definitely Sea Smoke. Now, Sea Smoke could be along with one of the other wild dragons, Cannibal, or potentially Vermithor, the old King Mount, the old guy that we saw at the very first episode of this, the opening scene, right? Jaehaerys' mount. What Daemon is probably doing by singing in Valyrian to them is actually, I hear you, son, is actually trying to lull them into a cage in Dragonstone to make sure he keeps some of the dragons on their side, even the wild ones that don't have riders, right? Like Sea Smoke and Vermithor, and that's probably why we see both of them in the trailer. That's why Daemon is singing, to get them to sort of calm down and not fly off, because they probably think the Greens are going to try to claim some of them. Now, another one of these images that I want to discuss is my boy Eric Cargill, aka Elliot Tittenzor. Now, I think one of the ways to tell apart these two, and they make jokes about it all the time in real life. I say my boys because they follow me on Instagram. They may even be watching this video. What's up, dudes? But one of the ways to tell the difference, Eric Cargill, their sigil is a duck with a striped red and black background, which is one of the most interesting sigils for in anything in A Song of Ice and Fire. In canon, it's a duck with a I think a yellow duck with a red and black striped background, right? But anyway, he's handing the crown to Rhaenyra, and this is an amazing moment because remember, we saw him trying to sneak Rhaenys away, and Rhaenys was ushered into the dragon pit, and then she broke the floor, and then Eric was obviously able to get away, right? But anyway, I think one of the ways to tell the difference is Arik, the one for the Greens, the one who basically stayed, right? He has a slightly up-twitched mustache, right? And then our other boy Eric, right? He has a more of a flattened face, right? Or a flattened mustache, right? So I think that's one way to tell the difference. But anyway, he's handed Rhaenyra's crown, the crown of her father, and I was completely wrong in thinking that Rhaenyra's coronation was going to be tragic and somber like it is in the books, and then Aegon's, crowning 40,000 people was going to be amazing. But it had a bunch of people die, like literally a crap ton of people died, right? We had the awesome moment with Rhaenys, but it was immediately like had a huge shadow cast on it because of all the innocent civilians died, and like that's one of the reasons why they're going to go and attack the dragon pit. So it's actually another reason why it's a good thing why they did that, because it sort of sets that up later. I got to remember the average show watcher doesn't know the events that lead completely up to it, because it would be impossible to show on a TV show. So they're setting up events now in this season because there's only 4, right? But anyway, Eric Cargill is giving the crown to Rhaenyra. And then another image, and this is my favorite one of the entire trailer, even though I know it leads to tragedy. This is Aemond revealing his sapphire. Like, we were afraid. All of us that were watching the filming, we saw immediately Ewan Mitchell had an eye patch. So we were like, oh, crap, are they going to go sort of like the route where he doesn't actually have the eye, the sapphire eye, that may have some mystical properties to it? It may actually be a piece of blue dragon glass. There could be potential for his eye to be an altered version of dragon glass. And Aemond has a connection to the mystical or magic side because he ends up dating this woman, Alice Rivers. And when him and Daemon have that final showdown, he mentions, my lady, Alice Rivers, has seen you in the flames, Daemon. She has seen you in the castle yard. She's seen you with your woman. Like, basically insinuating that his woman is a version of Melisandre, is a fire priestess. And obviously these Targaryens love, anything related to flames. And this is just going to be so amazing, terrifying and amazing at the same time. This episode is going to have a bunch of, probably people reacting and just, it's going to be nuts. I can't wait to live stream to y'all. This is a really funny screenshot. I didn't realize Rhaenyra was in the middle of rolling her eyes, but Emma Darcy is doing a really good job portraying Rhaenyra. I follow them on Instagram. Make sure you go do that. In my last video, I posted the top comment that I pinned is a link to a post on Instagram where I tagged all of the people that were responsible for the last episode, and I've been trying to do that every single episode. A couple of the people follow me, which is awesome, right? But go follow them if you have an Instagram account, right? But Rhaenyra, this is before. If I would assume how well put together Rhaenyra looks, I would think that this is before the pregnancy where she loses her baby, which is obviously going to be something that happens. And the way that happens in the books is basically she's cursing herself the entire time, and the pregnancy is brought on early by the news that her father died. And it looks like she may get into an argument with Daemon. I haven't seen all of the leaks for episode 10, but some of the things that I have read have mentioned how Rhaenyra and Daemon have a fallen out, and there was something about how all of the Rhaenyra Daemon stands are gonna be crying because Rhaenyra and Daemon are gonna have an argument and make it seem like they're gonna be broken up because Daemon's gonna leave afterwards. But you gotta realize in canon, Daemon leaves immediately anyway. He's gone before Blood and Cheese happens because he sort of just sends a raven to Rhaenyra that says a son for a son, an eye for an eye, after what happens in this episode. So I'm assuming they have a falling out. Daemon goes to Harrenhal. He takes it without killing anybody. This will probably be shown in season 2, and then right after that, he'll find out about Lucerys. It depends on how this episode goes, right? But it's going to be really amazing and intense to watch, and I just can't believe we're actually finally getting it on screen. So one of the more hyped up images is the painted table that Aegon had made before he even conquered Westeros. And a lot of people, I mention that because a lot of people say that the painted table, Aegon wanting to conquer Westeros is something that he sort of just came up with when he turned 27 or 25 or whatever, however old he was when he conquered Westeros, right? But that's not actually true because he had this right here. He had this painted table made years before he ever left the wars that he was participating in over in Essos. He was sort of like a gun for hire over there where they hired him and Velaryon, and you would assume, it's not specifically mentioned, but Visenya and Rhaenys, his 2 sister wives who rode, well, guess what? Visenya rode motherfucking Vhagar. And Visenya is the name of Rhaenyra's child. I'm so glad the show stuck with all of these characters' names, but it's also extremely confusing, right? And then Rhaenys rode this dead dragon, Meraxes. It was killed with a bolt in the eye down in Dorne when Aegon was trying to conquer Dorne. But anyway, Aegon had this painted table made before he ever conquered Westeros. So he had showed that he had that dream. Aegon was a dreamer, just like Daenys, right? Daenys the dreamer is the one who saved the entire Targaryen family because her father, Aenor the Exile, took them over to Dragonstone and they posted up over there with some dragon eggs and Velaryon specifically, right? So this painted table has a lot of history to it, and there was actually some misspelling, if I'm not mistaken. They misspelled one location. I seen it gained a bunch of traction online on Twitter. I saw a bunch of people had pointed it out, and I'm actually looking for it right now, but I don't see it. I think it was the Dreadfort, maybe somewhere around there. Or no, it was Deadwood Mott, and it was supposed to be Deepwood Mott, and they misspelled it, and it's a Depwood Mott, and it looks like, I don't know if y'all can see my arrow. Let me zoom in on it, because I know y'all can see that. Right here, right next to, if you look at the Rhaenys caption over to the left by those mountains, it looks like they sort of edited it out because they misspelled it. But it's kind of funny. It's not as bad as leaving in a coffee cup. And it looks like they caught their error because it was mentioned online, right? Looking to see if I got another shot of the actual painted table. Doesn't look like I did, but I have a better one of them all standing around it, right? So this is Lucerys Jacaerys. This is the Black Council. Rhaenyra may have potentially already had the miscarriage. It's hard to tell, but the daughter that she's pregnant with, Visenya, is not going to be born ultimately, and it was the one daughter that she would have had. It's similar to how her mother, Aemma, and Rhaenyra is literally the spitting image of Aemma, and Viserys mentions, or Viserys, the character, right, the actor mentions that the Viserys character just accepts death, and that's why he allows himself to be slowly dying over the years because of what he did to Aemma and forcing her to have all these kids. But Aemma had one baby that died, that was born successfully, but then died immediately afterwards, and that was Balon. So Visenya will maybe have something similar. In the books, according to Mushroom, the baby is draconic, and he's the one who takes it out to the flames to burn it. But obviously, we haven't seen Mushroom yet. I don't think he's going to show up in the last episode. Maybe because Rhaenyra will be so sad after the fight with Daemon, he shows up and sort of cheers her up. But I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen too many leaks for this episode. But anyway, so that could potentially be what happens. And it's kind of pointless to name some of these counselors that are around here, aside from Daemon right here and then Rhaenyra right there. But looks like Sir Steffan Darkling and our boy Graham McTavish, Harold Westerling, did make it to the council. So it looks like he may, switch sides. And Daemon probably already used his gold cloaks to basically maybe inform Harold Westerling that they're ready for him to switch, and maybe this is why Daemon has a standoff. But definitely Sir Otto goes over there initially thinking that he's going to be able to be a convoy. And it makes me think that he brings someone with him. Like, Rhaenyra came and was sort of preventing all violence and bloodshed that would have potentially happened. Maybe Sir Otto brings, I wouldn't say Vhagar, right? Obviously, Vhagar is busy in the Stormlands. But it would be really cool if we finally got to see Aegon and Sunfire. And that'd be cool because Aegon finally got some confidence when he saw the crowd was cheering for him. So maybe he goes with his grandfather, but they also immediately get turned around because Daemon and Caraxes are able to deter them. And then just a couple more images that I want to talk about because I don't want to have too many, this take up too much of your time. I've been uploading a bunch lately. The live stream last night was 2 hours, right? So this is really cool because this is... it looks as though Harold Westerling Steffan Darkling stabs down a piece on Winterfell, and that is where Jacaerys is going. And if we get to see Jacaerys in Winterfell, that is amazing. We didn't get any shots of him in this teaser trailer, but that wouldn't be something they would reveal. That's a big reveal for the episode, and they want to make sure that everybody knows they want to make sure when everybody sees that's like a big reaction on the internet, because we haven't seen the Starks all season except for in the very first episode when Rickard Stark went down and pledged his fealty to Rhaenyra. So it'll be amazing if maybe they'll save it for after Lucerys dies, right? He goes on what's supposed to be the safer trip, the Storm's End, right? And I've explained it a bunch. Check the link down below. And any one of those videos that are linked down below, I've explained this scene because we've been looking not necessarily forward to it so much, but yeah, that's a way of putting it. It's just going to be tragic. It's going to be intense. But maybe we see Lucerys and Arax die via Aemond and Vhagar, And then afterwards, as a little treat, as a little tasty treat, Jace doesn't know this yet, but he arrives in Winterfell. And we get to see a dragon in Winterfell, just like we did with Daenerys in Game of Thrones Season 8, episode 1 or 2. I think both, when her and Jon Snow go riding and Jon Snow rides Rhaegal. Man, that's just going to be so awesome to see Vermex and Jacaerys in Winterfell. Hopefully they do it this episode, because it's going to end really tragically, right? And then one of the last images that I want to discuss in this video is, well, one of the last ones, right? We have this image of Jace and Luke basically telling their mom, hey, send us to these places. And they probably have to do a bit of convincing, but ultimately she'll realize they're going to be grown men. They're of age in this world. And that happens when they turn 15, 16, or 10 and 6 or 10 and 5, right? And that's what's about to happen. They're about to go basically start the war, right? They're next to their betrothed, who ultimately, this will probably be one of the last times they ever see them. This will be canonically one of the last times they ever see them. This will definitely be the last time Lucerys ever sees his betrothed Rhaenyra. So it's going to be intense. And then the last image that I want to discuss, this image of sea smoke, and it's very clear that is this dragon. Whether it flew with Rhaenys to Dragonstone or is going back to Driftmark and they're just sort of about to start gathering their forces, I'm not really sure. But like I said at the beginning of this video, this image of sea smoke could be what Daemon is doing and singing in High Valyrian to who's potentially Vermithor, the Old King's Mount. Maybe he's trying to corral them inside Dragonstone just to sort of keep tabs on them. It's hard to tell from the short clips that we get in this trailer. This could even just be Lucerys and Arax leaving. Like, we haven't seen Arax up close on screen at all before, and he could potentially be a similar coloring pattern that Sea Smoke is on the show. In my opinion, that would make a little bit more sense, because I doubt Rhaenyra would come back this early in the war when it starts, if he's still alive even. And I actually just wanted to add this little bit in at the end. I was completely confused about the plot of what Sir Otto wanted to do to Aegon. I thought he was going to try to kill Aegon. Like, I watched the episode twice, and that's literally what I picked up from watching it twice. But now, after watching the inside the episode and hearing, the writers talk about it, their intent was to just basically show you Alicent wants to show up her father by being the one to influence Aegon. So no, Otto wasn't going to kill Aegon, even though he was told that, your grandfather's waiting for him out of the city. It was just a very convoluted plot, but now that I figured it out, kind of makes sense, right? Alicent wanted to be the one to crown her son because she wants to have more influence over him than her father. All right, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video, and then also, if you've already subscribed, consider checking out my Patreon, because I mentioned before, it's an unadulterated version of my podcast that you can join for just a couple of bucks. I upload there very frequently. Right now, there's about 7 to 8 episodes of content that has never seen YouTube before, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm constantly being demonetized here for just talking about something that doesn't exist, and that's silly to me. So I'm pushing my Patreon hardest, right? Eventually, I have a t-shirt machine that I want to learn how to use, and I'm going to start giving that away as merch, as more of an incentive to join my Patreon for that exclusive content over there. Thank you all so much for watching. Alon natin sa risas pustari, Ixos daor.